What's up, YouTube? I'm going to try something differently because someone pointed out pretty accurately that the camera angle is pretty unsteady, so I'm going to be trying something different with this episode. I'm going to be talking about creation. What is creation? How do we create? What happens when we create? What really happens? Because a lot of people think that when creation happens within us, that we are the one creating, and that creation, happens because of thought and whatnot. But actually, creation comes before thought and has created what thought is and has created what we are. Please note, I'm not talking about some kind of man-made God here. I'm not talking about some God that's intelligent in the sense that we are intelligent, or some God that's in the sky. I'm talking about something that's completely beyond all of this understanding. So in order to really understand this properly, what we're going to have to do is, for a while, you're going to have to suspend your belief or disbelief, because it's going to get in the way. And what I'm going to have to ask you to do is to observe how this is, true or not true, because that's really what gets you closer to reality in the first place. So what we're going to do is, what you can do in your spare time is write some things down. What you'll notice is that you don't always come up with the next thought, the next sentence that's going to be written down. That these things kind of come automatically without really your input for the most part. That's the thing to remember here about creation. Creation is non-thoughtable, which basically means the thoughts don't necessarily create what creation is doing. The thoughts are actually the creation itself, in a sense. Not always, because mostly thought is actually programming in your subconscious, in a sense, and that mostly has to do with survival. What your mind thinks you need, what you want, whatever it is. But sometimes, possibly even many times, depending on how advanced, how conscious you are, how creative you are and whatnot, you are actually going to be going beyond this to pure creation itself. And creation itself is beyond thought. That's the major takeaway from this episode that you should get, is that creation isn't something that happens for the most part. It's something that is being. It doesn't happen as a verb. It's actually one of the things to take away from the idea of being, is that being isn't a verb or a noun, because you're being something. Everything around you is pure beingness itself, really. And beingness is not a verb. It's not a noun. It's not even an adjective. It's just what is. Past, present, and future. All beingness is wrapped up in the same thing, even though they're separate, parts of what beingness is. But it's all basically the same the same formless form in the end, but the very beginning, the very essence of being is the same throughout all being. And this being itself is what's creating. It creates, what you're seeing around you, what you've written down, your creative ideas in the past, present, and future. And it is the great miracle that is awareness. Awareness itself isn't necessarily being, but it is definitely a part of being. And possibly the thing that helps being to know itself experientially. So there's a couple. I don't know. So there's a couple takeaways to take from this. Is that creation doesn't happen. You are not creating. The beingness itself is creating. Even though you are a part of the beingness, you are not the only part of the beingness itself. Your level of understanding does in some small way influence the beingness, but it isn't creating it. It's not really influencing it for the most part. What it's doing is helping you to understand and more effectively integrate within this beingness. It's the best way to put it, because this idea of beingness goes beyond you and me and separate other. And the beingness itself is even beyond words and forms for the most part. And the beingness itself is actually kind of infinite. It doesn't mean the infinite space or infinite time or some material form of infinite. What it means is that within its own nature of being is infinite. You could think about infinite characteristics of what beingness is. But it's even beyond this, because beingness itself, in order to be itself, in order to be what it is, it has to be what it is not, which is, programming of the mind. And I'm not saying it's not necessarily these things, but what the mind is a sort of it kind of limits being a lot in order for being to kind of grasp itself in a lot of ways, because you can't really know being with pure being itself unless you've known yourself as what you are now, like your mind and your intelligence and your body. So in order to go beyond your mind and intelligence and body, you have to just let things be, let things happen, and notice pure being itself. One way of doing this is to observe what is happening around you, to feel into the inner body, to let go of all the attention that you're directing towards things, and just noticing and feeling this awareness that's inside of you. The awareness is in itself part, it's really kind of an interesting thing. But I might make another episode on that another day, but anyways, this is Be Well Informed, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.